It was a protest that changed China forever.
It scared the living daylights out of the party central command.
10 years after Tiananmen Square, it's the eve of the millennium, and 10,000 people silently gather in front of the homes of China's leaders. They come quietly, and they leave quietly, but their voices have been heard.
It put Falun Gong on the map as a force in China.
3 months later, the crackdown. Thousands are arrested, tortured, and killed. The beginning of a genocide that continues today.
The decision that they will ban Falun Gong, the decision was made on April 25th.
But what made those silent protesters spend that April day in peaceful appeal? What sparked the brutal persecution that followed? And why has the world stayed mostly silent about the nightmare that many Falun Gong practitioners have endured throughout the past decade?
The other man said, "Beating Falun Gong to death is nothing and is counted as suicide." I said, "Even if you beat me to death, I will not tell you anything."
This is their story. A story of courage amid condemnation. A story of old brutality beneath the veneer of a new China. The story of Falun Gong.
I got there around 8 a.m.
Shi Caidong now lives in New York and can be seen practicing Falun Gong on weekends at Manhattan's Madison Square Park. But on April 25, 1999, he was a Chinese citizen who had a chance to meet the country's second most powerful person.
There were already a lot of people, a lot of practitioners had already arrived. From their attire, it looked like they were from the rural areas around Beijing.
They had come for one reason: to appeal for Falun Gong at the National Appeals Office in Beijing. China's network of appeals offices predates both Communist Party rule and the Chinese courts. It was traditionally a last resort for Chinese citizens who experienced some form of injustice. Shi says he decided to appeal after hearing that practitioners had been arrested in the neighboring city of Tianjin.
After I found out, I thought that we needed to appeal to government departments about the situation.
In Tianjin, practitioners had been protesting negative press coverage in the local media. But after being broken up by riot police and appealing to the local government, they were told they had to take their appeal to the National Appeals Office in Beijing. But taking the appeal to Beijing raised the stakes. Across from the National Appeals Office is the central leadership compound of Zhongnanhai, the most sensitive place in China. Surrounded by walls and armed guards, it houses the homes and offices of China's leaders. And as thousands of practitioners came looking for the appeals office, police directed them to spread out around the compound perimeter. But then, something unexpected.
I think I passed the West Gate, a big gate, and some people applauded. I guess they saw something and started clapping. I had already passed the gate, so I turned around to see why they were applauding, and some people said that Zhu Rongji came out.
Zhu Rongji, the Chinese premier and one of the architects of China's rise.
It's very hard to get an audience with Zhu Rongji, even for a second.
I had passed the gate and so quickly turned around and went back so I could talk to him. Just as I went to cross the street, heading towards the gate, Zhu Rongji crossed the street from the other side. He said loudly as he walked, "Where have you come from? Who asked you to come?" Some practitioners said, "We're Falun Gong practitioners."
A very interesting detail is that Zhu Rongji was coming out without any bodyguard. So it is a clear signal that he knows that Falun Gong people are very peaceful. I can even saw his smile on his face.
Zhu Rongji then asked, "What are you doing here? Don't you have freedom of religion and belief?" As he walked and talked, in the end, he came pretty close to me. He said, "If you have any problems, find representatives and I'll talk with them." I raised my hand and said, "Premier Zhu, I can go." Many other practitioners also wanted to go in. So Zhu's assistant picked 3 people to return to Zhongnanhai.
Unless it's those ruling the country, only a handful of people ever enter Zhongnanhai. Access is limited to China's political elite and the occasional foreign dignitary.
When Zhu led us to Zhongnanhai, while he was walking, he asked, "Haven't I already ruled on the materials you sent in for appeal?" We were really confused when we heard this, because we didn't know that the Premier had made any decisions regarding our practice. And we thought that if there had been a decision, that we would know about it. So we were all very surprised and said that we didn't know. Zhu also thought it was strange when he saw that we didn't know, and he was pretty confused. He then said that he would ask the Commissioner of the National Appeals Office and the State Council Secretary General to talk to us. Very soon after, these officials Zhu Rongji went to look for arrived. We talked about the situation. The Tianjin police arrested Falun Gong practitioners, and that we hoped they would be released quickly. We also said that many practice sites were being harassed by local authorities, and that they had stopped us from practicing, and that we hoped we could have a legal and just place to practice. And I said that we hoped that Zhuan Falun could be legally published. These were the 3 main requests we had.
They had made their appeal, but Zhu Rongji wasn't the only one who witnessed it.
Zhu Rongji came out, if I remember correctly, that was like 10 a.m. But then in the afternoon, suddenly, the atmosphere, you can feel the stress, because a lot of armed police suddenly ran out of Zhongnanhai and stood in front of us, about 2 meters, in between the armed police. They just line up in front of us. They look very serious. And then I had a feeling that Jiang Zemin was going to come out.